Hi everyone, this is Michelle Samuels for Why Goals ID, and today our conversation is about future online market share and the level of competition around that. So it's a fight to get a share of or a piece of the pie, as they would say normally. Now, what's really going on? Let's look at some of the statistics, what the stats are telling us about the online channels and also social media marketing as well. Social media global marketing report from businessresearchcompany.com suggests that there are different types of social media categories. So you have advertising, subscription, social networking, microblogging, instant messaging, photo sharing, and that many industries are crossing over, basically crossing over to the online channels or adjusting from sometimes brick and mortar or just new movers who have let's just say there is a lower barrier to entry for some, depending on the type of product that is being or service that's being put forward on the platforms. So companies like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn are the major companies in the social media market right now. Asia Pacific was the largest region in social media market in 2022. Africa is expected to be the fastest growing region in the forecast period. The regions covered in this report by Business Research Company is Asia, Western Europe, Eastern Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, and Africa. So, what is the growth like? And what services are they putting forward? What kind of penetration is going on? So you have a lot of like e-commerce sales that are being shown here, and also total retail sales is about 21%. Well, this was during COVID times. We're looking at this document here. The global social media market grew from 193.52 billion in 2022 to 231.1 billion in 2023 at a compound annual growth rate of 19.4%. CAGR 19.4%. So there's a lot of movement with even the brick and mortar stores in the retail market, because as we're seeing here on, Google is a very good friend of mine, meaning I use Google a lot. And what we're seeing here is that, approximately, well, on average, we're looking at about one document here says the data revealed that 17,000 shops on the high street and other 17,000 odd shops on the high street and other locations across the UK closed in 2022. But on average, we can see from the data that it's like about 300 to 1,000 different physical stores. So 17,145 is not too bad, but that's just in 2022. So if we look at 2021, this was nearly up by 50% in 2021 when 11,000 shops closed. So it was 11,000 prior to that, and even before that in 2020. We can approximate and say it's about less than 50,000 stores that have closed. Less than 50,000 stores, that's a broad park figure. Please no one come at me for the specifics of the figure, but you can explore your own research online. So let's say 40,000, 40 to 50,000. So we're going to look at 300,000. So that's one sixth, yeah. So one sixth of the stores, actually, one sixth of the market closed their doors. It's not really clear about what kind of shift happened, but some of the companies within the sphere of the physical locations, what they have done or decided to do is to shift to the online channels using like distribution outlets or just minimizing their physical costs. And this is not just for retail stores. This is just the general parameters under which companies are operating. Because during COVID time, what happened was a lot of people were working from home, operating not in the physical office environment and so on. And obviously, I mean, bills have to be paid by organizations and companies, but it was also potentially an opportunity that could be explored because it would minimize a lot of cost for different organizations in terms of overheads and even minimizing who knows labor costs depending on the types of contracts they'd go into. People could work from home. They could claim back some of them if you know how the tax system operates. However, with some things, you just basically absorbing some of the costs that are attached to what the companies would actually absorb themselves had they been operating in the physical format. But this video is not about that. We're just looking at the rationale behind why this fight is happening now. So there's a lot of movements across the board pertaining to, obviously, if companies are not capitalizing on the physical stores or shops, what will happen is, they won't need people to work in that market from a labor standpoint. And obviously, not too obviously, but that term is used loosely. Obviously, we can actually see where it would be logical to cut the labor cost, cut the overhead cost, cut the physical location, rental, mortgage cost, or any other cost in order to grow, and maybe not even grow, but just to sustain the company itself. Because if new players are able to enter the market quite easily through the online channels, companies would have to be strategic in their approach and relook at how they're going to align themselves, cover their costs, and be able to operate from a profit making standpoint. Because it matters not how you want to go around it. People go into business to make profit, and that's to the benefit of the stakeholders who are engaged in the business activity or just invested in some way, shape, or form. So we're basically seeing where there are different shifts that are occurring, not only within the context of the labor market, but also just general channels that have changed in terms of how they distribute goods across the board. How they relook at their customer service strategy and delivery logistics strategies. How quickly can they supply what is needed as compared to the competitor? What's the quality of service within the timeline of delivering the goods and making it easier for people to be able to access those goods, or just having the options of accessing those goods via different channels that will also minimize cost from a transport standpoint, from their and time saving standpoint. And even if it is that, the time saving aspect of it, there's more availability of time, some people still do not want to actually exert time and effort doing activities which they could easily deal with at home. So what you're finding now from the online marketplace is that more people are working or operating outside to a higher percentage. Because if you have 300,000 stores within the UK market, and let's say approximately from the data we were looking at, but this could have variations if you look at different data sources. So we're looking at about 30,000 shops that were closed in the last 2 years, physical stores. Now, so what is that? 30,003. So that's 1/10 of the stores were closed, 1/10 of the market. And we'd have to look at what the whole market is valued at. But that would be just an approximation, because depending on which industries, then we could get a clearer picture of the cost impact. But them closing does not mean that they did not re-strategize. The physical closure of a shop does not clearly highlight the fact that the business no longer exists. So we'd have to look at other data, or the business strategy could be changed, or the person could go self-employed. They could use different channels to be able to um to still operate businesses and generate income. The next thing we're seeing from the online channels is that there's a growth around, especially influencer marketing, according to this article that we're looking at. It says in recent years, influencer marketing has really been on the rise. What was a 1.7 billion industry in 2016 has since grown to become a 9.7 billion industry in 2020. In just 2021, it grew to 13.8 billion US dollars and is projected to 15 billion in 2022. And 2022 has passed now, but we're at the beginning of 2023. So I guess that data wasn't in. This was actually written on the 3rd of January 2023. So the influencer marketing industry is just growing at a pace that, I mean, and a lot of people have been pushed in the direction of, looking at the skill sets and gifts that they have, or just the skills that they have, what they have brought to the market in a way where they were supplying it to organizations. Some people are now saying, okay, the labor market has been affected. I mean, job security is questionable with some in comparison to how things were before. So they're kind of marketing themselves, promoting themselves, learning about the online channels, using the social media platforms, capitalizing on the e-commerce opportunities, drawing in people from different directions. And it's been identified from the influencer marketing industry report, as an implication and extraction, that we can see that there's an opportunity there for brands to promote themselves through these influencers and gain a percentage ROI, return on investment, on those activities, which previously, I mean, there are some companies, they would not think for a minute to engage in that direction. But it's the changes that are occurring in the market. What does this mean then? Why is there a fight for future online market share? Well, we know also that population will grow and so on, so market share will expand, but you have to put the necessaries in place to meet the supply and demand from that perspective. But from the fight for future online market share, we're looking at like the social media channels, how people operate on those channels and what they're bringing to the table. So where is the shift going? Most people, they want to upskill themselves, they want knowledge, they want to know how to operate online, they want to know more about some aspects of how data is used, how applications are used, which ones work in terms of promoting goods and services or individual skill sets from a consultancy standpoint, from a knowledge standpoint. And there are actually gaps in the market, because the thing is, some of the social media channels that are being used, there is no real confirmation as to whether or not those skill sets have been qualified to the degree where it can be said that this is valuable information and it can be applied. So it's almost like there's a risk element. And from the perspective of seeing how many new players can just pop into the game, it's a matter of being consistent with your delivery and being able to be up to date and tapping into the market share that you want to tap into. So what we found is that it's like an even playing field right now, almost. The online channels, there are high levels of competition. However, in parts like the West and so on, it's opened up opportunities to be able to compete and to trade internationally, go into new markets, deal with people in other locations that were very far away and hard to access, maybe because of time factor to get access to those people. So there's a speed of delivery that's happening now in terms of goods and services, branding, marketing, in terms of just knowledge based expansion, and the accountability around being, I mean, tapping into that market as well, and also learning how to use the channel. So it's almost like it's not fully ready, it's in an adjustment stage. And from the perspective of looking at the whole picture, it will become more competitive. Why? Because more people want the freedom to be able to have flexibility under certain circumstances. They want to be able to tap into the global market. They want to independently operate. So big organizations are not only face to face with the small business owners, they're also face to face with people who are online, who are operating individually, and they're very hungry and they're very clued up in terms of, some are clued up in terms of the skills that they can offer and consistently deliver in line with that. But we already know that the big organizations, I mean, they are equipped to be able to do certain things because strategically they're aligned to do so, and they have the resources and the people and the technologies to back it. However, some technologies are also outdated, and these companies are readjusting themselves to be able to bring in new technologies, new applications, new forms of robotics and AI, and to minimize their costs from a labor standpoint. So the employment market, projection wise, may be affected to a substantial amount. That pushes individuals and people to move more onto the social media platform or operating through the online channels to be able to tap into business sales across the board, like e-commerce and so on. But I mean, some people can also sell courses, sell their skill sets, and how do you manage that though? It can be very challenging, but it also opens opportunities for people to have that flexibility in managing their businesses and how they operate with their gifts. So it really comes down to who has the resources to push on the online channels as well. But it's not even about the resources initially alone, because many players can start out with little and nothing, and that's where the barriers to entry are different or lowered, because the cost to start up online, like on social media, is not that difficult to do so. I mean, there are a lot of skills behind it. There's a lot of if you want to cut costs, you can cut costs by learning how to use the applications, do the editing, find the necessary equipment, and operate independently or just with a few people. Alternatively, I mean, doing thumbnails and promoting certain things can be done through different websites where people are offering their skill set um, on a large platform with multiple people and options and choices and price ranges. So I think not everybody will want to use the online channels. Not everybody will want to use social media because not everybody has those skills to be able to do so. That's not their interest. However, one might say that there are other routes to doing so, because you don't have to speak on social media. You don't have to show your face. There are so many other ways to actually tap into the market without being engaged without engaging with the audience face to face or physically. So you can, and there are many options in terms of what do you really sell? Do you sell a physical product or do you sell a digital product? Now you have the offer of writing books, even if you didn't write it, but just the broad overview, and also being able to pick, like, select the pictures, put it together. There are opportunities online, but there's an aggressive fight for the future of the online market, because the online market is where it's basically going at. People want that people want the comfort, speed of delivery, the availability of goods, seeing more multiple options. But multiple options and exposures will affect individual companies irrespective of whether or not they are prepared to do so. So that means that larger organizations will become more aggressive and tap into cheaper options to be able to use and capitalize on not only influencer marketing but marketing from a broad perspective and fully understanding how to stream, how to use multiple platforms, how to tap into broader audiences, or just being very selective about the audience that they have, and offering premier or high level goods or luxury goods. That means that the quality that is being delivered, you're looking at like creating higher barriers to entry by investing in like technologies and so on. So there was a big jump in there was a big jump online during COVID about views and so on, and monies went up for a lot of to be able to generate high levels of income off the platforms, the social media platform, because a lot of people, most people were at home really. No, a lot of people during COVID, they weren't sure what was going to happen. But now it's a situation where there have been like, or there has been a fall in those incomes that are generated because people are trying to find their way now to readjust to the whole environment, recover from the whole environment. So some people don't really have the time, and the time is actually limited to the time that one can spend online. So that means that the players that are online, that are actually, well, spokespersons and the influencers and the ones that are driving their individual brand or selective brands connected to companies and so on, they have to now be able to up their game in terms of creating content that is so specific or tailored or delivered at a fast speed, or looking at different options in terms of their unique footprint. How do they differentiate themselves? How do they tap into the resources to be able to do that? So how will they be able to operate consistently when when that drop in views happens, more and more competitors coming onto the landscape of activities, and this is through the online platforms and so on. Where is the money coming from for affordability to be able to present oneself if it's face to face? But no matter which route that is taken, one has to be very strategic and also committed to whatever it is that they have done. And also be flexible enough to know when to get out, and also using multiple, not everybody can use multiple sources of income. Some people will just excel at a specific product, commodity, good, or service. But and I'll always move forward to this, understanding your design, the environment, and how you operate from an investment standpoint in terms of selecting what you're selecting and the risk factors you're going to look at around that, means that it brings more clarity as to, as well, to a certain degree, to be able to be more strategic with the decisions that you make. Sometimes it's just a matter of, some people do very well irrespective of not having the technologies, not having the equipment, not having, but they have the natural skill sets, and they're consistent and they're determined. So the faces of the competitors in the game are really changing. It's not like you could say it's small businesses, business to business only, or this is like an aggressive, it's almost like the creation of a new category, and obviously it would come under self-employed, but it's not it's more along the line of understanding that people want to be independent in their approach, or people want multiple sources of income, even if they're working in the labor market. People want flexibility, they want more balance, they want greater deliveries from the viewpoint of the organizations. They want more accountability, they want value for money. And that value for money aspect of it is very important, because value for money, when the market is shifting and there's so much uncertainty, and even to source money, and there's so much around inflation, price increases, demand and supply shifts to different regions that were previously not occurring, but there's more gain from an exchange rate standpoint as well over to the other side. Expansion of people beyond territories, and then connecting with people in their original countries, doing business that way, capitalizing on the market, learning multiple languages, no restrictions around languages, and applications that can easily aid the connection to that, obviously within certain constraints. So, like I said, the faces are changing, and it's gonna get more competitive. More players are gonna come on, more than likely, who are within the social media bracket. More players, more people will become unemployed in certain categories because of improvements around technology, and also AI and applications. More people will need to feed their families. More people will be re-looking at what really worked for them, because they were so invested in the idea of working for somebody else that they thought it would be a long run thing forever. Some people just have to relearn and upskill themselves whether or not they want to. There's no real option around it. And then be able to package themselves, market themselves within the context of the labor market from an upskill standpoint. And that's going to take time to be able to tap into that learning and knowledge environment. So the fight for future online market share will drive human behavior in a way where we may have to challenge ourselves beyond what we actually know from previously, and be strategic in our approach in terms of the decisions that we make around value for money, and tapping into the knowledge that was previously, you've seen where the mistakes occurred, why those occurred, and how to safeguard what we have in terms of not only the resources that we tap into, but our investments and what is necessary from a survival standpoint. Now, you have countries that are preparing themselves. They have been preparing themselves for over probably maybe 100 years for opportunities like this. Countries that have been learning English, moving in this direction as well, and coming with a level of intelligence that not far surpasses what is available now, but is very competitive and advanced in terms of being receptive to learning and applying that learning, and lowering the labor cost, and the willingness to go the extra mile if necessary, just to be able to sustain themselves or move away from the society or that they knew previously, or improve the society that they actually are connected to. So the fight for future online market share is more than just about money. It's about power, opportunity, it's about control, it's about rebranding oneself, it's about moving to the higher level of what is required within the market. It's about looking at the old methods of doing things and seeing what needs to be thrown out and what needs to be revamped. It's about looking at your own circumstances and thinking, do I need to really be fully invested in one way or the other, or do I need to learn how to do multiple routes of investment, and learn how to be flexible in my approach, and find even qualities in yourself that you didn't even realize existed, but you need to, because you have to survive. So we're gonna close now because we've used up some substantial amount of time. This is just to give you some insight about the shifts that are occurring and to really think carefully about the decisions moving forward while you're doing your planning, while you're looking at your goals, while you're looking at the environment, while you're exploring what your options are and creating a strategic plan around bringing out the greatness in yourself and also what's best for your household and your family and for the society at large. So I'm Michelle Samuels for Why Goes ID. Again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. We're past 21,000 views now, and that's within. I mean, when was that? We started in October on YouTube. But we have other, obviously, we have other views across the board, but we just meant, well, combination, we're looking at about previously when we did the analytics, we looked at 30 odd thousand views across the board. We do have followers and so on. What's the total of the followers? When I look at it, see that five, so maybe about 11, 12,000 followers and of yeah subscribers. So see, we need a subscription, so subscribe this we need the subscribers, so subscribe to the channel, click the like button, make a comment. I look forward to hearing your opinions, and we will have another conversation while we create this blueprint to our dreams that is realistic, that is actually in line with your unique capabilities, as well as something that aligns with market